busy.
Sorry. It's anticipation of the walk. You did great. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us here at Vidiots and Focus. I want to start at the beginning with just saying with you, Curry, on where did this film start for you? Where did the idea come from for Obsession?
Well, I had this idea for a while about kind of obsession. Like, I didn't know if it was a boy obsessed with a girl or a girl obsessed with a boy, but I knew that I wanted to explore the concept of obsession. You know, you can be obsessed with anything. You can be obsessed with climbing the rings at your job or becoming the best at a sport, right? But like being obsessed with another person is something that was really intriguing to me as a storyteller.
Yeah.
And then once I kind of unlocked the wish element of that, I kind of felt like I was like, oh my God, I know my way in of the story. It really, then you had conflict and then it became a story.
But then to me, I want to maybe dive a little bit deeper into that because the obsession, to your point, and especially what's so great about this film, is it's not very, it's linear, I think, in its idea, but there's this push-pull often of that obsession, right? Because you want to bring an audience in to see both sides of it. So I'm just curious in your writing, can you really take us back to that time of what you were going through to kind of really get that? Because you really honed such an incredible moment where you take the audience through.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be unpredictable. I think like as a horror, like there's so many horror movies coming out nowadays, and I think I'm a huge horror fan. Like I'm a moviegoer.
Yeah.
I'm a big connoisseur of horror.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of take the horror that's coming out nowadays as a blueprint, as what people are expecting, what not to do, what to do. You know, you kind of develop a language.
Yeah.
Like as a just a fan watching a movie, I kind of know what's going to happen next, right? And so we all kind of do. You can kind of sense it in the theater when we're all kind of like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. This is going to happen. And like 9 times out of 10, you're correct. So you can kind of use that as a writer, as a blueprint of how to expert expectations.
I mean, the break scene is just thank you. And many other scenes in this film, which I've seen it a few times, because it definitely is a film, by the way, it requires rewatching it, it like unlocks on it. Okay, so from this, you come up with a story, you're like, I've kind of unlocked the idea of an obsession, but then there's something in here as well, which was before we move from the story into the casting. There's around humor. There's so much wonderful humor in this movie. And you can hear it from the audience where they kind of like have this levity. I think if I just might say, a duct tape door is like that. You kind of made that, and I think that's hilarious. So, and it's also dark. This is what I was saying. It's the perfect balance of this. Can you just talk about again where you clearly have also a very clear understanding of where you want to input humor into this as well?
Yeah, it's a very fine line because you want to be careful. If you lean into the comedy too much, then you're in danger of losing some of the stakes and some of the danger of the world, right? And so when you're writing a horror that you want to add comedy to, you want to make sure that your comedy isn't crossing that line into silliness, and then you could lose some of the danger of the world and make it feel kind of silly, or maybe make it feel like the characters are doing things that aren't true. A lot of the laughs that I get in this movie are kind of like I'd be lying to you if I told you I had planned every single laugh. I actually really just wrote what I thought the characters would honestly do in that scenario, like her saying like, go back to sleep, and I'm just kind of slowly laying down. We laugh, but I think the reason that we laugh is because we're kind of used to what other movies do, right? And we think that that's not what he's gonna do. And so I was just writing what I thought he would honestly do in that situation. What are you gonna do in a situation like that? Maybe if I lay down, she'll just stop being weird and come back to bed. If I just listen to her and go back to sleep, maybe she'll right? So like just trying to be honest to the characters, and sometimes that's funny.
I had no idea. 9 out of 10 of the funny things in this movie when we were shooting that those were supposed to be funny. So I actually felt some secondhand embarrassment the first time I saw it.
You're like, stop laughing.
I felt embarrassed. And you know, a lot of it is just in your edit too.
Yeah.
Curry just knows how to edit, so you probably just get an idea of, oh, if I just cut leave it here a little longer.
Well, I will then say this, is that like bringing Michael and Inde into this is like, you guys also bring in thought and take on those words and kind of obviously the script, and true comedy and true horror works because it feels very human, right? We relate to it. I think to me it's not necessarily like laugh out loud in these like a slapstick way of the humor, but it creates this moment of levity because my God, I'm so uncomfortable, right? It's like now that you're tapping into on a very visceral level. So for Michael and Inde, I'm so curious, can you talk about when you first read the script? You don't have to. Oh, no,
like this shit.
I'm so fucking bad.
I had come off of a show and I wanted to like really, I had always wanted to do film, so I wanted to do something that was so different than anything I had ever done. A, to challenge myself, but B, to also show people what I was capable of. So I got this, and I was like, this seems great. And then,
What, can I just chime in here before we go in? Like, what about it stood out to you? Like, this was great.
That's a really good question. Yes. It was how I fully understood Nikki and how I felt like she was a full person. Because as different as she is, we're like different people in relationships, we're also different people by ourselves. We are different people every single day. So Nikki's a completely different person. Songs like The Witch, like her as a person within the film, I felt like was so beautifully written. I was like, whenever I speak these words, they get real. And auditioning this dude right here, it felt even more real, and it felt like very Nikki. So
Can you talk about our audition?
You do it.
So it was a chemistry read. I think you read with other bears. I read it with a bear. I read with a few Mickeys and cowbear. They were all. They were all great.
Don't give her a pick.
Great.
Not as
Yeah.
Well, so the moment we met, she greets me with this like, sup. I'm really scared of any handshake that doesn't just go straight forward.
Great
That's why I
we're about to go to
That's
this.
why. So I just went, and then what did you say?
I said, never mind.
And then Crew's like, action. And it was the perfect thing, and it was always just, there was this awkward electricity.
Like,
Brother, sister,
yeah, like we should not be.
not be together. And that's what it was, that's
Yeah.
the word.
their lack of chemistry is what got them.
See? Already got
I do.
Is because that's the like inner Nikki coming out, basically saying, "I still see you as a brother."
Right.
So in the beginning, she kind of says like you're like a brother to me. And so the Hansel and Gretel monologue is kind of an homage to like brother and sister being together in a way that's not really typical.
Oh my goodness. Michael, going back, would you also then answer outside of the audition when you read the script the first time and maybe like what stood out to you about Bear?
Absolutely. I mean, it was so curious to start reading the script and think, okay, where's the protagonist? And then as I got deeper into the script, I'm like, oh, he's kind of making really questionable decisions. He kind of turns into like almost an antagonist, and he sort of, he caused his own problem. Maybe we didn't know at first that the wish was going to work, but I just loved it. I loved how the script didn't tell you how to feel. I loved the morally gray area that it lived in, And to me, that was really fascinating. Like, oh, wow. So I had to make sure, we talked a lot about that we wanted Bear to be, you wanted to root for him, you don't want to just hate him. That was a great balancing act. What a great opportunity as an actor to play a role like that.
I completely agree. I feel like in both of your characters, with Nikki and Bear, I don't know if this is the right way, but it's like you kind of have these like empathy containers in like different ways, because you have to both. Like I think I'm thinking of Bear, we were just saying like you're both good and bad. You feel bad for you, and then you kind of hate you at the same time.
This I wore in the movie, black and white. It's Bear wears this in the movie, and that's literally why I stopped for Bear.
Which equals red.
For Nikki, again, I'm going to maybe have a positive first for Bear, and then I want to get into Nikki, but because you have to kind of go back and forth with this character. Well, yeah, what was your approach? What was kind of like when you were tapping into the role, Michael? Yeah, for you. Like, what was that like what was that like as you were getting into the character of Bear to ensure that you were kind of both likable and knowing that you weren't going to be?
Right. Well, I can't worry about what people are going to think, and I really had to not judge any of his decisions. So I just stayed, especially because most movies are filmed out of order. This one was in like the most difficult order.
Really out of order. We had to shoot the house out first.
Oh.
So like we were shooting everything in the and we shot per room. So it was like if we're shooting in the living room, we're gonna shoot everything that takes place in the living room first. So there was so
I remember thinking, how the hell are we going to start with this scene? I was stressing out. I drink coffee every day, but some days I didn't drink any coffee because I couldn't add any more anxiety. But I had to trust him. Like, I literally had to trust this guy. I just met. But he helped so much. He had great notes to give us, and then sometimes if I just felt like I don't know what to do, all I would do is just really stay true to what Bear wanted more than anything. It was a tunnel vision, getting the girl of my dreams, and that worked. That was my guideline. I'm getting the girl of my dreams. All I'm gonna do is focus on that. I've seen the movie afterwards, and I've been like, whoa, Bear's kind of a dick. That's why it took me a while to realize that. It's because when I was in making Bear, I wasn't judging his decisions. I was just like, just do the best you can. I want to get this girl. It's kind of screwed up. I'm gonna keep trying. And so I'm now realizing how he's kind of jerky sometimes.
I thought people judge it, but I guess I want to say that, I appreciate that kind of mentality of you going into it, and then that brings me to the question for Inde. I just want to say, and this also I think goes to your writing career for the story, but I feel very connected to this character as a woman, and as someone that demands on perhaps that I can relate to, and it doesn't have to be gendered, but the demands specifically on relationship, I get to act a certain way, and when you act that certain way, it's still not right. And it plays with this level of what is hysterical and what isn't, which especially applies to women. Yeah. And I just found what you brought to it was remarkable. You were just so grounded. And then you were also so intense. There's just no other word for it. And I'm so curious what that was like for you. Now knowing you were shot out of order, how you got into that mindset?
Honestly, nobody in my life will say this, but I feel like I'm quite shy.
She was being sarcastic.
But when I first got here, I very humbly told her I don't know how to scream. I feel like I know exactly how to play this character, but I'm not quite there. So it's kind of like being vulnerable enough to ask for help. And so we learned how to scream. We learned how to really get out of our comfort zones. But there were so many things that I wouldn't show him at all. I wouldn't show him oh my god. I wouldn't show him nose. I wouldn't show him anything like that. So it felt so vulnerable to me. And I felt like if I showed a person, I couldn't do all day. Which is not the best for a director to have an actor say, I'm not showing you anything.
Just trust you.
Right.
Yeah,
I will say to her, so not knowing much, right, and kind of crossing my fingers. But that the first time that we kind of did something that was crazy with her was the kissing scene on the bed, and she flies back, and there's kind of a moment that you require her to be like, what the, kind of like snapping into a different emotion, realizing where she is, then seeing Bear, and then freaking out. And there's multiple moments there. It's not just one moment, it's multiple.
Right.
And so I know that required more than just a person freaking out. There's depth there.
Yeah.
And she did it. And it was the first time I'd seen her do it, because like she was saying, she wouldn't do it. And it was the first take, is what you see in the movie. Because, me and my producer, hey, we looked at each other and we go, okay, thank God, this makes it worse. Yeah. Because she nailed it.
Nailed
Thank
it.
you. But yeah, I think whenever
Okay, getting into it. It's kind of more just like, how you get into this character and the extremes.
Yeah, that means a lot to me because I hate crazy women. It's one of those things where it's like, I think it takes away from, everybody feels emotions differently, but there's a certain point where you can feel an emotion so intensely that you feel shameful for it, therefore you will never talk about it. I know everybody in this room knows exactly what I'm talking about. But that's what I brought to this film, was every single shameful thing that I've ever felt my entire life, and I left it there. And I was like, you know what? Nobody's gonna see this movie. No, but I really wanted Nikki within a relationship. She feels trapped. There's two versions of her. There's the real version of her that, like, at the beginning of the film, because it's from Barry's perspective, we played with the idea of whether or not Nikki would actually like him. And it's like, okay, does she not? Does she not? But that's kind of irrelevant because she was forced into it anyways. And it's two things whenever it comes to women in particular. I'm going to speak gender for a second, but specifically for women, because that's only my experience, is that you sometimes can feel trapped and you feel like you have to perform a certain way, not because you really want to, or it's like thrust upon you or somebody tells you so. It's just within society's demands, society's frame. It's subliminal. So you kind of fight with those emotions on a day-to-day basis. And I wanted to bring that side to Nikki, where it's like, you're fighting against it. No, I don't want to do this, but this is what I have to do. But I don't want to do this, but this is what I have to do. So I don't see any as crazy. But this is a horror movie, and of course there's like playfulness to her, and it was a lot of fun to film. It wasn't like traumatic for me. I felt like her. But ultimately my goal for Nikki was to play her like a human, so that it wasn't, I wanted girls to watch this the same way that I felt at the end of the day, and was like, I feel seen by this character, and I wanted other women to feel that way.
Well, I think at first that works.
Yes!
And hopefully any other people in this audience.
Yeah.
And it totally, to me, grounds the film in a way that, to your point, I just want to give a round of applause for that. I think that is, you succeeded in many ways. But then, okay, now I'm going all over with this because there's so many parts of the film, but you were just kind of referencing her about like, okay, I'm trusting this process with them. There are two things here that I want to talk about. Trusting the process in what were you thinking about with regards to sound design and score? Because I feel like that feels like a very intuitive thing. It's so remarkable in this movie. And were there things that surprised you, or did you kind of always know what you wanted to hit?
Well, like coming from a background where you have no budget, and you're doing everything for as little money as possible, sound design kind of becomes your bread and butter. And I bring a lot of, like I think a lot of the creativity that I have comes from my background of like figuring out how to do things for no money. And so
you're an indie filmmaker. We love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so like sound design is such a big part of that because it's like the thing to do the cheapest. So like a lot of my films' early work had like crazy things happening off camera with crazy sound design, and it was more of a necessity. But it's something that I want to carry on, even when the budgets get bigger. Is kind of leaving things off screen and kind of letting it live in the imagination of the viewer, and you hear what's happening, but you're not necessarily looking at it. So all that to say, the sound design is really important in my process, the music is really too.
Yeah.
And just, so I composed all of the music for my short films. So it's something that, like, I think that music can really change the scene quite a bit.
Oh, for sure.
And I knew what kind of the tone that I wanted for this movie, but Rocky, who was this composer for this film, did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to feel kind of like that liminal space, kind of that nightmarish, kind of dreadful sound that just doesn't let up.
Yeah.
But doesn't necessarily telling you how to feel, as far as like a score that's constantly kind of giving itself away as far as what's going to happen next.
Exactly.
But having kind of like this almost just soundtrack that kind of just feels dreadful. So yeah.
And so then when working with Rocky, being that you had this experience of being so a part of that process in your earlier work and then into this, what were some of those then cues you were talking to him about that then got to that perfect score? Was it just like, did you show him things? Was it like...
We worked really close together, and he lives like 10 minutes down the street from me.
Okay.
But yeah, he kind of works at this garage. It's like an awesome like setup. And so we would just spend hours and hours and hours together working it out. But I mean, like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm not getting, like, he did all of this himself. Like, he's amazing. But like, just kind of figuring out, like, maybe we're not gonna go for the loud thing here. We're gonna actually just keep it quiet, or maybe we lose the music completely here, or and I put like 10 music in throughout the movie to kind of like guide that. But yeah, I mean, he would just send me things that blew me away. I'm like, oh, I do understand what I was so deeply.
Yeah. That's a good partnership, right? That's something when somebody you kind of speak the same language and it somehow, works, and it sounds like again what you found in your past as well. So thank you. I mean, it's incredible. I think the scoring sound design of this film is remarkable.
Thank you. I can't wait. I think it's coming out on Spotify and it's going to be dropped.
Yes.
I can't wait.
Here comes the vinyl! Vinyl record!
Yeah.
This will be good forever. Yes. So then I do need to be wrapping this up, which seems wild because I have far more questions to ask.
No.
But going back to kind of the cast here, when you guys, I also want to know about, there are other members of the cast. It's kind of felt like a foursome in many ways, and like the two other characters. Can you talk about? I really want to know like what the vibe was like on set.
It's kind of like this.
Well, most of the film was the two of us.
Sure.
So there were the few days where there were more than just the three of us. The few days where Cooper and Megan were there were just so appreciated. It was just like, oh,
There's another person in talk.
So we are all such great friends. I mean, her and Megan.
Oh, then I got attached to it. And something I do want to mention about Megan, I mean, Cooper's phenomenal. But something that I think gets misinterpreted about Megan is that Megan's such a phenomenal actress. Sarah seems like a real person that you can meet out in the wild.
Yeah.
And Megan and Sarah are two very different people. So whenever you see Megan out in the wild and you see this chick, you're not gonna recognize Megan because they're two very different. And I think it adds such a depth to the film because this seems like a real friend group. You know what I mean? Like Sarah has a little bit of a crush on Bear. That's kind of the person that he technically should have ended up with had he not been obsessed with Vicky. But then Vicky was like on with Eden. It's just like a regular friend.
Well, then.
Friend group that feels actually very real. There's a competition, and there's maybe a little bit of, but even the male relationships dynamic, I think was really interesting where you're going, Bear's characters is so vulnerable and just going for advice and then kind of getting misguided. I just really loved this dynamic.
I feel like it was important to me that each character had a different perspective. So which supports whatever narrative they're trying to come up, right? So Sarah's perspective is Bear, she's totally taking advantage of you and leaning on you for emotional support while she's going through something, and that's not right for her to lean on you.
Right.
Which supports the narrative that she has in her head, which is Bear is a nice guy, I don't want to be with him. Then Ian has the complete opposite narrative, which is like, dude, you're totally taking advantage of this situation where she's vulnerable, you're doing the wrong thing. So Ian, and which supports the narrative like of Ian's like, oh baby, like I think Nikki still has feelings for me, and like, you know, and now she's just leaning on you to get back at me, which is a crazy concept for Ian to think.
Right, because she's like, so self-centered. Yeah, I always feel that with Cooper's character Ian. I always believe like Bear kind of wants to be like Ian. Totally, right? Like he, like you know, should be like you the whole time. You guys are hooking up. I'm like,
Yeah, and then it turns out, yeah.
It sucks.
All right, I'm going to leave you with one, but we're going to go into a little bit of a different mindset because we're here at Vidiots. We are a historic video store. You've mentioned your love of horror film. Would you have a film that maybe you were inspired by, recommend, maybe it's nothing to do with this movie, you should do? It could be horror, perhaps? Or maybe something that you drew from to get into character for this film. I'm going to get very open-ended. Basically, recommend a movie. Which one?
Say gorgeous. Oh, I was thinking sorry. I'll go first.
Okay,
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll give you the movie that traumatized me the most. I'll give you two. One, Hereditary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't watch it before it's
Absolutely not. No. It's beautiful. It's wonderful, but it's nope. I looked up at every room that I would go in.
She ran out of the room while they were watching this together.
I love that. That's how it should be. Yeah.
And then Thousand Corpses, Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. So anybody else? Yeah, I love him.
Being around before. Michael, for you, anything?
Well, my movie for this movie was Fatal Attraction. I really kind of feel like we made the Gen Z version of it.
Yeah.
And I also just love Misery.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I love that movie.
Have you guys seen The Invisible Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that movie's underrated.
The new one, right?
The new one,
Yes.
Like I actually feel like that movie did not get nearly as much love as it did get.
Right.
It didn't get enough. Like I feel like that's one of the greatest horror movies ever. There's so many twists and turns. So if you haven't seen this win in this theater, please go check that one out.
All of these movies we have in the video store. I want give it a big round of applause.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys rock. Woo.